Hello to everybody, and this dude is about to explain to us why Jake Paul needs to fight KSI or these KSI.
Jake Paul has just taken his first loss in the sport of boxing to Tommy Fury, with everyone wondering who he'll be fighting next. The three main options are of course the immediate rematch against Tommy Fury, a boxing match or a possible MMA debut against Nate Diaz, or the one that I feel he needs the most, which would be going straight into a grudge match against KSI. KSI is planning to fight in May, and with Jake Paul just coming off his loss to Tommy, KSI has obviously come out and clowned Jake to no one's surprise, and is looking to get that Jake fight this year.
Hey, yo.
Bro, I seen that.
Don't mind me. Just smoking on that Jake Paul pack. Honestly, Jake Paul, trash. Tommy Fury, trash. The reason why you lost is because you weren't drinking Prime, baby.
Bro.
I stay winning. I stay winning.
This fight makes the most sense for both guys to be made as soon as possible, considering that with both guys continuing to fight separate opponents and build up to that fight, they risk the possibility of losing again in Jake's case or losing for the first time in KSI's case. These situations would obviously diminish the hype of this much needed YouTube showdown, so I don't see why both parties wouldn't want to make this fight as soon as possible. One potential problem would be the negotiations for this fight. We have seen in the sport of boxing, big fights like this are not exactly easy to make, and there have been a couple of negotiation hurdles in the makings of KSI versus Jake Paul, but if both guys truly want it and agree to make it happen, I do think that it would be able to get made for either summer or winter of this year. Jake Paul is a free agent in boxing, not signed to any long-term promotion like KSI, who is signed to Misfits and DAZN, so if Jake wouldn't mind fighting KSI in the UK on DAZN under some of his terms, which he has agreed to do, then they can definitely set it up to happen this year. With Jake coming off of a loss against a real boxer in Tommy Fury, that kind of evens the playing field in terms of the gap between KSI and Jake Paul, as Jake was kind of on this trajectory to entering the mainstream boxing world, and if he were to beat Tommy Fury, fighting KSI would have been seen as taking a big step backwards in terms of advancing on his path, which he previously stated that he wants to become a world champion in the sport. Now, assuming KSI gets past his next opponent, which while is not guaranteed, he would probably be favored going in against his most likely next opponent on May 13th, being Joe Fournier. This would put KSI and Jake at an even playing field that makes the most sense for them to meet in the ring as soon as possible. KSI has previously stated before Jake fighting Tommy that he was thinking about fighting in August for one last warm-up fight before taking on Jake Paul.
So would it be Joe or Woodley May 13th, and then the next one would be...
So I was thinking about maybe fighting again as well.
Oh, geez.
In August.
But aren't we playing with fire here?
Oh, no, can I not? Okay, I can't say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's that against?
I can't say.
But are we playing with fire? Because like the fight would be gigantic right now. I feel like you guys could sell out Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, I think we could sell out any stadium.
This August fight can now be replaced with the match against Jake Paul, which now makes even more sense with Jake losing to Tommy. KSI's entire goal when coming back to the sport of boxing was so that he could shut Jake Paul down once and for all, proving that he is the best in the YouTube boxing scene, like he once proved by beating Logan Paul back in 2019.
Why does this mean so much to you? Like why?
It's legacy, man.
Jake is the legacy. Are you done after Jake?
Yeah, I've got.
You retire.
I have no reason to continue.
Well, I mean, then maybe go after.
No.
You're not doing that.
Jake is the
final boss.
That's it. That is it.
Really?
Yeah, I've got nothing else.
If Jake goes straight into a rematch against Tommy Fury, this could be detrimental to him, with the possibility of losing, and at that point, the hype of the KSI fight will have lowered greatly, with Jake losing that aura of being the best, most unstoppable YouTube boxer, and with there being much less hype in general in the mainstream world of seeing Jake Paul's fights. Tommy Fury, while the hype for the rematch is there and it was a relatively close fight, it makes more sense for Jake to get a fight or two under his belt to make up that gap that he and Tommy have in experience, as well as to make that rematch bigger and potentially get his confidence up by having fights in between that he believes he will take care of and win convincingly. Following Jake's loss to Tommy Fury, KSI's manager Mams Taylor has discussed how they are thinking of pushing the fight between KSI and Jake to be even earlier, staged in summer of this year rather than December as initially planned.
So now that Jake lost to Tommy, does this still affect the KSI versus Jake Paul card in this year?
I don't know. We got to have a conversation. I mean, maybe we move if Tommy's going to take the rematch, he's having he's got a new baby and all that stuff. So maybe we move this fight to summer. Maybe we figure it out faster. I don't know, but definitely want this fight this year, because if Jake loses twice to Tommy, then there's no KSI and Jake Paul fight.
So Mams also claims that if Jake were to lose
That makes
twice to
sense.
Tommy Fury, the KSI versus Jake Paul fight is pretty much done, with KSI probably looking to fight Tommy Fury from there rather than Jake. So for Jake Paul's next steps, I feel like it definitely makes more sense to go into the KSI fight, or possibly even 2 KSI fights, as there will probably be a rematch clause both ways. And then if he wins those fights against KSI, he would attempt to get redemption against Tommy Fury once again in 2024 and prove that he can be a real boxer. Nate Diaz is another huge fight that Jake Paul wants to get to, along with his MMA debut that he plans to make in the coming year, as he did announce his signing to the PFL earlier this year. This could be a huge move for Jake Paul as well, but can also slow down his boxing journey as it's going right now, with potentially even bigger fights on the horizon against KSI and Tommy Fury. It's unclear how the Nate Diaz
At Universal Technical
Oh, it's really
Institute,
focused,
you don't have
huh?
to explain your passion for cars. We get it. That's why we're making
Diaz fight will play into all of this. Jake Paul has claimed that he originally wanted Nate Diaz in the summer of 2023, following what would have been his win against Tommy Fury, but since Jake lost that fight, his plans have been pretty unclear, and he's probably going to be going to the drawing board, looking at all of his options and figuring out which one is the most logical next step. This is what Jake had to say when asked about what his next step will be following his recent loss.
What's next? Like, actually, is it Tommy?
Well, I
Is
mean-
it JJ?
I guess the silver lining is that the pay-per-views are off the charts. Like, probably going to be the biggest fight of the year. It's going to be hard to contend with. Maybe Garcia and Davis.
What? The last night?
Yeah. Obviously, there's still so many names out there for me to fight. I want to do the rematch with
It
Tommy,
looks like
but
that fight
I think
humbled him
all
a
of
lot.
those fights are still rare and still massive.
Bro, not lying. Not
You
lying.
don't know which one you might be leaning towards.
I think the rematch is.
Yeah.
I gotta go get that back.
I think that going for an immediate rematch is the wrong call, and obviously with this being so shortly after the fight, his ego will want that rematch right away to try and get his own back, but business-wise, I feel like it is best to save that fight until a later point. The KSI fight gives Jake Paul a huge opportunity to get himself on a huge stage, to potentially raise his stock back up again in a huge event, that if Jake were to win, makes all of his other fights in his horizon much bigger and better, but if he were to lose, would bring him down even further than his first loss did against Tommy. So it is risk versus reward in this case, where he could fight Tommy in a fight where he wouldn't be favored and seen as a high risk, or he could fight KSI in a fight where he would be favored and seen as a lower risk, with both having a similar reward and raising his stock, and both fights obviously would do great numbers. The other fight would probably go away for good if he were to lose either, as if Jake loses to Tommy again, the KSI fight would probably not be there, and if Jake loses to KSI, the Fury rematch would probably not be there either. And it looks like KSI is also the front runner for who people want to see Jake Paul fight next, as in a poll of over 300,000 votes, KSI was the clear favorite in terms of who should be next for Jake Paul. KSI is more on his
Everybody
playing
wants to
field
see
now in
that
terms
fight,
of
though.
boxing, and it's the only fight right now for Jake that I feel like gives him a huge opportunity to finally end this long-awaited rivalry
I feel
between
like he
him
would
and
lose that fight, though.
KSI, settling it in the
okay.
ring after years of trash talk, hype, storyline, and build-up going in. There is no better fight right now for Jake Paul, and if they keep delaying this fight, we may never get to see it ever again, which is why it needs to get made as soon as possible this year. Both Jake and KSI believe they would convincingly beat each other, and this fight should be settled once and for all this year, and with Jake coming off his first loss, he now needs this fight more than ever. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on KSI versus Jake Paul, hopefully happening this year, or whether you think this is the fight Jake Paul needs to have next. Thank you guys so much
Why
for
is their
watching, and if you
faces
enjoyed
getting
this
so big
video
now,
and you
bro?
enjoy my
Yeah, like he said, like, subscribe, see you guys later. Hold on. One thing I like about KSI, he's proud of being a YouTuber, YouTube boxer, and YouTube rapper. Sure, gotta stick up. Gotta keep. Okay. Gotta keep the main thing, I guess. Jake wants to redeem himself. He'll fight another real boxer. What was KSI done to be able to call people trash? I like ego talk. He hasn't done much. Yeah, his ego is way. If Jake Paul loses, he can still do everything. Yeah, bro, I feel like after that fight, when he was talking about Logan, bro lost all his confidence. Bro has lost all his ego, or most of his ego. Because bro sounded real chill about not knowing what he was doing next. But like, subscribe, see you guys later. Hope you have a good day or night, and bye. And who do you guys think will win? I think KSI. Maybe because I'm a KSI fan. Who knows? But yeah, bye.